Hello, welcome to Tony's Bonsai. I've got one of my favourite collected trees here. This is a hawthorn that I collected in the spring. I'd been working on it for 12 months in the ground before I collected it, and today it's healthy enough for me to do some initial styling on the tree. It's fairly obvious what attracted me to this tree, and it's the wonderful S-shaped curve, which is like a gift really. As I say, I did do some pruning in the ground, so I'll show you where I've already made a couple of chops. From here you can see the two chops that I made, a smaller branch here and a fairly major one from this site. They're both callousing off really healthily and doing well. I don't have too many major decisions to make today, but there are a few of these branches which just don't need to be here. I left them on just for the health of the tree because obviously it's my first year of collection, and I'm not really going to take anything, well, I'm not going to take much off if anything, but what I do want to do is add some movement into some of these thicker branches that are definitely going to stay. I want them in the final design, and so I think to put a bit of interest into them now will be a good time. But first of all, I need to take off some of the thorns with my snips. These branches in here are definitely going to be part of the design, so first of all I'll just go around removing these thorns, because on an established tree like this, these old thorns, they're absolutely lethal. So get those off just for my own safety. You can see here what I'm doing. These thorns, as I say, they are a nightmare. So I just work my way around removing these, being careful not to damage the leaf that's at the base, because there's a bud in there and that'll grow into a new branch if I cut it back to, say, here. I've got a nice piece of wire here. I think it's perhaps 2.5mm or 3mm, and I want to wire this branch. So I'm going to come round the trunk, around the branch like this, just locking it in place, and then with the other end of the wire I'm going to wire a branch that's round the back. But then back to this first one. It's nice and safe to do this now because I've removed all the thorns, only off the branches that I want to wire. I'll remove the rest of the thorns in winter when there's no leaves on the tree. And by taking it round like that, I can put whatever movement I want into this. And I do want this to come sort of towards me, because I see this as the front of the tree. So all I'll do is add some nice movement there. So that's coming across. I think it could come also down this one before going back up like that. So it's quite subtle, the movement. Maybe I don't want it quite that subtle, so I'll just add a little more, and I'm quite pleased with that. I really like this branch here. It's in a great place. It's just a lovely structural branch, and it's just the right thickness as well. But because it's quite thick, I do need to use quite a thick piece of wire to get some movement into this section, which is where I want the movement. It doesn't need to be, it's just a bit boring and straight. So a bit like last time, I'm not going to wire two branches this time, because in fact I could anchor it to that one, I suppose. So if I apply some wire around that branch there, I'm really using that branch more just as an anchor than anything, although I will put a bit of movement into that branch as well. But I'll come from there, I'm going to come right round the trunk so that it's nice and stable. So that I can pull on that fairly tightly. It's nice and solid, and then I can go around this branch at the base. And whoa, that got me then. And apply a nice fairly neat coil. This is reused wire, so it's never going to be as neat as if I use brand new wire, but I like to recycle, you know. So that's going on really nicely there. I'm happy with that. That's coming around. I wouldn't need to go any further than this, to be honest, but seeing as I've got the length of wire here, I may as well continue on up the trunk, up the branch, should I say. Ah, that's nice. Yeah, I'm pleased with that. So my decision now is what to do in terms of the direction of putting some movement into this. It already naturally comes up. I've got a bit of a branch here, and I think I'd like to twist the branch so that this wasn't coming vertically up but was coming more towards the camera. So perhaps by twisting as well as bending, see, I've now pulled that branch, I've twisted it towards you, the viewer, and again I'll just there. So that's now a really nice position to grow laterally as opposed to just going straight up. And I'll keep twisting as I do that there. That's plenty. So these are now two nice lateral branches. I've got some good movement into the branch coming towards me, and all I'll now do is, because I have a branch coming away from me, that will make another nice branch there. So I've got some nice shape, and then I'm also coming up with the branch, which is a more natural sort of flow. Yeah, that works really well actually. That I'm very happy with that, how that's gone. From around here now we can see the other end of that piece of wire that I just used really just as an anchor, but this branch does want some movement adding anyway, so I'll use this wire to achieve that. And there's a bit of a void in the tree around this area, so I would naturally like to bring that branch round to fill that space like that. And I think that works quite well actually. Perhaps if it could also just be, it's coming towards you, but I'd like it to also come up, so I'm going to try to wrap this wire around it a bit like that. No, I'm not going to get that done. That's not going to work, but I can still possibly do, yeah. No, that's not working. So what that needs is a little bit more wire. It wasn't long enough, but that's fine. All I'll do is add another piece of thinner wire, because it doesn't need to be this thick for this branch. This will allow me to do whatever I want. I can move that thick piece out of the way and then use this thinner wire to just orientate the branch upwards. So that wire's pulling it down and this wire's pulling it up. So they're kind of working against each other. That's great. I've always had one question with this particular tree, and it's this branch here. I think it's too thick. it's not that it's particularly out of proportion with the trunk, but it's too thick in relation to all the other branches. And so I'm going to remove that branch, but I don't want to remove it this year. I'm leaving it just to grow healthy, to do its thing, and I'll chop that off next year. And when I do, I've got this lower branch, which has got some great character in it already. So that's like a natural replacement for this. I'd love nothing more than to start cutting these lower branches off that I'm not going to be using in the design, cutting off this thick branch that I don't like, trimming it back, starting building ramification. But I'm really holding myself back because I know I need to prioritise the health of this tree. So I'm going to leave it to grow. It's still in its first year since collection. I really like this tree, so I don't want to risk killing it. So that's all I'm going to do for today. As always, thanks for joining me, and I'll see you soon. Have a great day.